Hello Internet, I'm the Disney Brain and welcome to the Liv and Maddie review. As crazy as it sounds, including this episode, we've only got 3 episodes left for the entire series. So yes, I will be reviewing all 3 of those episodes to close out the show. And you can tell from the opening gun that they're pulling out all the stops for the final 3. Not just because of the nature of this episode, but also because look who they finally got to direct. Spoiler warning now, and it just might be worth it to go into this one fresh. With all that said, let's dive into Sing It Louder, Aruni. We start things off with Liv and her co-stars preparing for Sing It Live, an event that is, as you'd expect, going to be filmed live. This naturally is the main focus of the episode, but let's talk about the Rooney Boys first. Here's one thing the episode smartly does right away. There technically is a silly subplot here, but they found a way to organically integrate it into the main plot. This works out even better in a slightly meta way, because once it gets to the point where the Parker Boys are starring in their own commercial for bacon briefs, no seriously, everyone else in the show quickly realizes how silly this all is. This works because of the added scoop of absurd that defines Parker's latest invention, and because it's a commercial, meaning that while it is just another wacky Parker Boys ploy, it also functions as satire towards commercialization, marketing industries that will literally sell you anything and there'd still be people to buy it. And that logic holds, seeing as how at the very end of the episode, people are actually ordering the bacon briefs by the truckload. It's made even funnier considering how many genuinely brilliant inventions Parker has come up with over the years, and yet one of his dumbest ends up being an overnight sensation. Whether it was intentionally satirical or not, it's absolutely one of the smartest uses of a Rooney Boys side plot that this show has ever come up with, which honestly shouldn't surprise anyone. And now we get to the primary focus of the episode. While Liv and the other Sing It Louder folk are talking, she decides not to sing at rehearsal for the first time because of some throat soreness, which raises alarms for Ruby. Ruby then informs the rest of the family about the situation, and they all become concerned about the state of Liv's health. Liv is fairly confident that there isn't anything wrong with her, so she freely agrees to go see a doctor. Unfortunately, things take a turn for the worst when it's revealed that Liv has vocal nodes, a condition created from straining the vocal cords. She'll need surgery to fix it, and even with that, there's no guarantee that she'll retain her singing voice. The logical thing to do would be to inform Gemma that Liv can't sing, but we wouldn't have much of an episode if she did that. This is framed in a good way though, because it seems like Liv's primary motivation is not letting people down, but her actual motivation is revealed to be literally going out on a high note, because even if she did step down for the night, if the surgery ends up not working, she would have missed her chance to sing for the last time, and not even Maddie herself can convince her otherwise. This works really well for 2 reasons. The first being that it allows Liv a chance she doesn't get all that often, to rise up against a force working against her. Almost the entirety of Maddie's most important developments have been something akin to that idea, but here, it's Liv who feels the need to power past something despite the risk. And the second and more important reason, in the context of this singular episode, is the clever tension it creates. Liv sings a pretty fitting song about destiny, but every time she pushes her voice just a little bit further, the tension builds, because we know the performance could end right then and there. And then, the performance ends with Liv feeling like something really bad happened, and now we wait until Voice Aruni to see how things resolve. And that's Sing It Louder, Aruni, an episode that execution-wise might just beat out everything that's come in Season 4. It's smart about the setup. Dove Cameron delivers one of her best performances as the character of Liv, if not the best. The side plot was well integrated, making it way less superfluous than it otherwise would have been. And all of it comes together in such a coherent and focused way, even relative to the very good episode we got just 2 weeks ago. From the very first episode, Liv as a character has been largely defined by her voice. It's the primary skill that made her a star well before her other acting projects came rolling in as the show progressed, and the show smartly puts that definitive trait in jeopardy as a last hurrah for the series. But even raising the stakes to that high of a degree wouldn't have worked if the teleplay wasn't spot on. The pacing is just right. The tone is almost just right, but Joey being Joey at times abruptly changes it, and more than anything, part 1 of this story is both sharp and focused on exactly what it wants to convey. For all that I've said about Paul the film director, we've never talked in detail about Paul the TV show director. In general, there's not too much of a purpose in mentioning directors of specific episodes of any show unless there's a discernible difference in how certain elements play out. For example, in 3 out of the 4 total episodes Danielle Fishel directed for Girl Meets World, the acting and tension was noticeably higher in quality, and this particular Liv and Maddie episode also conveys several improvements relative to an average episode of the show that are in line with Paul's directorial traits. But I can't give him too much credit here, because unlike a movie, a TV show has producers, writers, and actors that have a lot more time and space to grow into their roles, making a brilliant director nice, but not as necessary relative to a DCOM, most of which flounder without good direction. Getting back to the show itself, the narrative they've set up here, leading up to the last 2 episodes, is a potent one, and from where I'm standing, it's one of the best ways to end this particular show. And we all know from experience that this show is also very good when it comes to cliffhangers, because the resolutions are never overly simple and find a way to satisfy and make sense at the same time. And if this show properly capitalizes on everything they've already done here in part 1, we could very well be looking at one of the all-time best series finales on the network a few weeks from now. But that's more of a prediction at this point, since this particular story thread could very well be resolved with Voice Aruni with a completely different story defining Goodbye Aruni. But either way, things have never been better for this show, and this home stretch has a level of quality that I wish early season 4 episodes could have embraced. All in all, despite the fact that Sing It Louder Aruni isn't as grand with a take-home message versus other Season 4 highlights, it's arguably the single best episode of the season and easily one of the best episodes of the show, period. The intelligent way nearly everything here is conveyed and captured is just too good to place it anywhere else. Liv and Maddie once again made character drama matter, something that seemingly left with Holden's departure, but boy did it come back in a big way. And my final hope is that they keep Paul around to direct the final 2 episodes, because it's abundantly clear that the regular directors for this show just can't do what he can, because even though his impact won't be nearly as high as it would be for one of his movies, as I mentioned, his unique vision and style could still end up making a world of difference. And lastly, as great as it is to see an episode this good, it'll make it that much harder to say goodbye to the Rooney family when the series concludes. A goodbye that, for me, will be especially difficult. That will mark a major turning point for the network, because we don't yet know if Andy Mack can fill the major void that this show and Girl Meets World is leaving behind. But that's an entirely different discussion, so we'll save that for another video. And of course, thanks for watching.
My word. They turn flatulence into decadence.
You can trust the strips and let one rip. I cannot wait.